This week, our spring SEC AD tour rolls on. Rip and I hop on the I-40 to the I-22, about an 8-hour drive from Fayetteville last week to Tuscaloosa to catch up with one of the coolest athletic directors in the game, Greg Byrne.
Excited for this episode of One Star Recruits, brought to you by 500level.com, DK. The website has all the best t-shirts in sports. I could spend all day going through the pro Alabama athletes on 500level.com. Let me just give you a handful. Amari Cooper, Jalen Waddle, Derrick Henry, Herb Jones, Colin Sexton, Brandon Miller, going to be the runner-up for Rookie of the Year. They all have fire t-shirts on 500level.com. Use the discount code PODCAST at checkout for 20% off everything on the site. Roll Tide!
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Byrne, the athletic director at the University of Alabama, on with the one-star recruits. Roll Tide.
Yo, aloha. I'm back in the farm in Kalaheo. I'm back in nature. Touch grass, as the kids would say. Rip, touch grass. Have you ever heard that slang before? Is that new to you? Touch grass.
Maybe on a football field in Tuscaloosa. Sounds like I could hear that.
Maybe, bro. It's when you're too out of touch with your life and you're out of control. The kids now, to tell you to cool down, will tell you to touch grass. That's like the thing. Go to nature. Go be with nature. You got to tell a shitload of people to go touch grass right now who are involved in the portal. You have no time available to even go touch grass. This thing is crazy. The portal is wild. Rip, just Alabama, the school we're at this week, just this week continues to get reshaped for next year. A fourth scholarship player reportedly will enter transfer portal. Our guy Sam Walters. So this team, Coach Oates, reshaped this basketball program with the portal. Here it comes again. It's moving along again. Cosby, Ryland, Chris Parker, out of here. Got some guys coming in. Our guy Chris Youngblood from South Florida, really good basketball player. Dang, great fit.
Tuscaloosa native.
Tuscaloosa native, yeah, makes so much sense. The Tide, they're going to have some capable wing options coming in, but it's wild. What a time, Rip, with this portal. I don't even think we fully, you know what it feels like? It's starting to feel like, maybe I'm crazy because we're in it a little bit deeper. Feels a little bit like NBA free agency period when the portal's moving like this.
100%, even when college football is going. But the difference with basketball, and Greg talks about it in this interview we have in a few minutes here, is that the roster is so small, you can turn the whole damn thing over in one offseason. So from a Final Four this year, let's see where they go next year. But yeah, crazy times. I wouldn't want to be a NCAA head coach right now in these crazy months. Maybe I want the salary, but I don't want this 24-hour schedule.
Yeah, you got to bring in these guys. It's a combo of working this portal, working it right, and then doing your normal kind of high school thing. This kid Reed's supposed to be real good, Rip. Another great player coming in. Still Grant Nelson doing his thing. Great portal grab. It's exciting, but gosh, it is just, I say it again, it's a wild time, especially to be an AD, to be a coach. Action. This is really the Woj. Is Woj the Woj of breaking portal news? Or is that a vacuum to be filled?
No, there's tons of Twitter accounts of guys that are on this, like I said, up 24/7, breaking news all the time about guys going into the portal, guys committing places. I'm still looking out for Robbie Avila. He hasn't committed anywhere. We got your guy from Arizona, Omar Baloo. He's now an Indiana Hoosier. We got a couple guys in Calipari's class from Kentucky are now at Arkansas following him. So it hasn't even started. We're about a week into this thing. We got another month to go.
There's an outside chance I thought Baloo was going to head maybe down south, but take it to Indiana. Great crap by Indiana. Look at that. The cool thing about NIL is it's also like has these slippery other doors that we're learning about on the way. If you're not a U.S. citizen, like Ballo, not a U.S. citizen, can't get paid the nil. The NIL, it's crazy. There's the guy who just went to Arkansas from Kentucky, same deal. So maybe a little loophole still that has to be corrected. The wild, wild west in 100% full effects going on right now. Wonderful breakdown. Not hearing a lot about our Arizona State Sun Devils in the portal. Not a lot of news popping out from ASU. I mean, everything is transferring to the damn South, Rip. Football, basketball, it's all coming down south.
Yeah, the only thing they got going for them is they're moving to the Big 12 next year, but it's only going to get tougher. So, yeah, the Cricket's down in Tempe. Where you at, Bobby Hurley? Where you at, Bobby effing Hurley? Let's go.
Spring, man. New life, Mr. Hurley. It's springtime. Means new life in the basketball court, new life on the football field. That spring game happens. University of Alabama, they call it A-Day, Rip. That spring game, it took place last weekend. It was packed. People were there to see the new head coach. I mean, Bryant-Denny Stadium, packed full for a damn spring game. Something just harder for us to put our minds around a little bit, but real proud to see these Tide fans. They're going to get something new to watch that they haven't seen, I think, in a while. We're going to have a high-flying offense. I think that same offense we saw in Washington's going to start kind of opening up down there in Alabama a little bit. It's my guess. We got a new defensive guy, Big Kane, Coach Womack. Excitement's in the air. Spring games, like I said, we just don't get on the West as much. Is there any comparable on the West Coast? Maybe the Cowboys coming out for there to get ready for the season in California is the closest thing I can think of.
Yeah, there's a lot of Dallas fans in California, but that's like a whole couple weeks long thing. I mean, A-Day in Tuscaloosa is one Saturday and it's 80,000 strong. And we'll talk about with Greg in this interview, the passion, the generational effect from Alabama fans and everywhere in the South, really, Mississippi, Georgia. It's real and it's something you can't recreate out West. And there's nothing like it, DK.
I'm a big fan of Greg Byrne and his energy. This is the first time hanging out with him. We got some Arizona roots, which is cool, but I like his energy. Listeners know that I worked for the Golden State Warriors for years. And Greg has the same demeanor, the same energy as former Warriors GM Bob Myers to me. He's a former athlete. He leveraged kind of their zest for putting together great people and teamwork. He kind of combined that with being a really good communicator. But at his core, just like Bob was, he's a competitive guy who I think hates to lose more than he even loves to win, which is important. It's an important personality trait in this hyper-competitive environment. And then you could probably catch this dude grabbing a pizza at Mellow Mushroom as well, just a slice.
I love that call out to Mellow Mushroom down in Tuscaloosa, DK. And the thing I've been thinking about all week about this interview, because I was on a high after it, he's a really great guy. The thing I've been thinking about is he's the kind of guy that if you went to a wedding, not knowing many people, you'd want to be sitting at the table with him because he can relate to anybody. He's got so many stories and he has a great balance of answering the questions and being smart with his answers, but also being candid and down to earth. So really probably a top 10 interview on the history of this podcast. As far, we've had almost 200 episodes, but a really great guy, Greg Byrne. And I think Alabama fans are going to love this one.
Enjoy this interview with Alabama AD, Greg Byrne.
Now joining the One Star Recruits podcast, we have a husband, a father, an Arizona State Sun Devil bachelor's degree holder, just like myself, and currently the director of athletics at the University of Alabama. Greg Byrne is on with the One Star Recruits. Thanks for hopping on with the One Stars, Greg.
Thank you. You must have run out of options of people to interview, so appreciate you having me on.
Hey, we're super glad to have you, especially with all the Arizona ties. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. I hate to bring up gambling and talk about gambling right off the bat with an AD, but we talked about it before we hit record here. You spent some very good years in our hometown of Tempe on campus at Arizona State. My guy DK right here swears by the chili dogs and the onion rings at Ted's Hot Dogs on McClintock and Broadway. What's the over under on 2.5 for the times you've eaten at Ted's Hot Dogs in your life?
I don't think I ever have. So I'm going to have true confessions here. Okay. You'll be the priest. I'm going to go to confession here. I finished my degree at ASU. I started at Oregon, and then my girlfriend, now wife of almost 30 years next month, moved to Phoenix, and I followed her down there. So I actually took more classes out at ASU West than I did on the main campus because we lived up on like 21st Avenue and Cactus. And so I would get down there for some classes, but I worked full time at the Ritz-Carlton. And then interesting, they had a couple legal issues with the basketball team when I was there. And I think it was Coach, he was on Bill Frieder's staff. I think it was Coach Archibald. He used to be the head coach at Idaho State where my parents went to school. They needed some bodies, and I'm 6'5" and I have a pulse. And so he actually called me one day back when we didn't have cell phones yet. I came home to my apartment and there was a message from him saying, can you come and talk? Because, we need somebody that can take up some space. I almost played basketball for Arizona State, but I was making good money at the Ritz, and I never did. I probably ate it at some point. I don't remember. I remember going to Zendejas.
Nice.
There was a little, it wasn't a trailer, but it wasn't much more than that. Around the corner from the Fiesta Bowl offices, I remember going to quite a bit because you could eat there for pretty inexpensive. I couldn't afford anything. So, but we had good memories there, and enjoyed our time in the Phoenix Tempe area, and just was there the other day with the Final Four, and love going back when we can. Obviously, I was in Tucson for 7 years as the AD at Arizona, and so if you peel me back, I'm actually a much more of an Arizona Wildcat than I am an ASU Sun Devil.
No, I'll cut that part out. Don't worry, I can edit that part out.
Greg, I did 6'5". You probably were locking up Mario Bennett, man. 6'5". I didn't expect that out of you. That's an amazing story.
Well, I didn't. Mario Bennett was a lot better than me, so I knew I didn't belong out there. I would go when I started. My dad was AD at Oregon in the '80s, and when I started school at Oregon, because I was either going to play small college basketball, and it would have been Division III, or I was going to go to a big school. And I went to the big school, and I would go out and play with the Oregon players. I remember Terrell Brandon playing for Oregon then, and I quickly realized I'd get out there with Terrell, and I played against the Stoudemire's growing up, people like that, and you'd go out to try to guard them. I remember one time I got a rebound, did the outlet pass, and so it got turned over, and Terrell's bringing the ball up the court in a pickup game we had, and literally I'm like taking one step up just past the free throw line to try to pick up the ball, and next step Terrell's laying it in while I'm just planting my foot. So I didn't belong with those guys. It's a whole different level.
The speed is so fast when you get into collegiate and pro ball. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to move it back to the 3rd grade. We're going to talk Flying Hills Elementary School in El Cajon. Rip and I know.
You've done your research. Holy cow.
We're bringing it back because this is interesting. And we've had some ADs on, and we said this is interesting. At one point in time, you wrote in I believe, a yearbook that you said athletic directors talk on the phone and go to lunch every day. And it sounded like fun. Of course, your dad was an AD.
I've got the report on my wall right there.
Oh, love it.
Greg, you are just iconic, man. How accurately does talking on the phone and going out to lunch every day ring true for an AD 45 years later?
Yeah, well, you do talk on the phone. You do more Zooms now than you do talk on the phone. Back then, my dad was, when I wrote that report in 3rd grade at Flying Hills, he was the head of fundraising at San Diego State. And so I saw him with donors and building, cultivating relationships. And you certainly do that as an AD. I do quite a bit of fundraising still, but you also have a lot of other things that you do. The management of coaches. You have 21 sports, 650 student athletes. You have all the infrastructure. You have all the just putting it all together for the entire department and overseeing it. Certainly, we got great people in our department that do the lion's share of the work, but managing that on a day-to-day basis at a place like Alabama keeps the day diverse. Certainly nothing more higher energy and profile than getting to do the One-Star Recruit podcast.
Hey, we've learned too with having ADs on that this job is so stressful, and we kind of kid in that joke, but it is you're a GM of a huge program essentially doing all the stuff. So we're learning that the coaching carousel for the NCAA men's basketball in particular starts pretty immediately after March Madness. It's kind of wild. We saw last week in Arkansas that the trickle effect. There's been talk of your guy Nate Oates going places. We heard Michigan, we heard Kentucky, but he put an end to it with a statement in a tweet a few days ago. We know it's sometimes the best job of an AD is to keep your best people in place. That's the best. That's the job of all great leaders. That really, when it comes down, how much did your strong relationship with him keep those rumors from going out of control, I guess? And what has the communication been like between you two since the Final Four?
Yeah, Nate's great. I hired him 5 years ago from Buffalo, University of Buffalo. And he, one of the things I had never met him before. I actually had been following him for a few years. I do remember when his Buffalo team went and beat Arizona. Arizona had DeAndre Ayton, had a really good team. I was at Alabama then. And, but I watched that game. For some reason, I remember watching it in Nashville, but it doesn't make sense. I don't think I would have been there during the NCAA tournament. And, but I remember God, they don't take any 15 footers. It's either at the rim or it's behind the 3-point line. And so I started learning and reading about it, because you always want to be paying attention. What happens if your coach gets hit by a bus, right? That you need to be ready for that. And the more I researched him, I thought, hey, that'd be interesting, because one of the things in sports and in life in general, what are you going to do to separate yourself from your competition? And I thought he was doing something new and different. Listen, with your coaches, you're not trying to be best buddies with them, but you want to have a good, healthy working relationship where you communicate. You hope that you are at least friendly to each other. And, it's not like when you meet with your coach, you want to go, God, I got to go talk to this coach. You want it to be a good, healthy relationship. And so I certainly have that with Nate, as I do with many of our other coaches. And I really enjoy him. But talking with him and spending time with him and talking ball with him. But it's really interesting. When we hired him, I went to his home in Buffalo, like at 8:00 at night, ate supper with his family. And I could tell there was a real level of humility, but also very smart. He's a math teacher in high school, besides when he was teaching and coaching at Romulus High in Detroit. And so as the night went on, we talked more about basketball and running a program and all those things. And Bobby Hurley, gave him his first shot. And then when Bobby went to Arizona State, he replaced Bobby as the head coach. But I said, one of the things that really attracted me to you is your humility, and you're really hungry to try to learn and grow. I told him, he hadn't met Coach Saban at that point, but I said, we got a football coach in Tuscaloosa named Nick Saban. You may have heard of him before. And I said, he is going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time of any sport in the world. And he's still trying to learn and grow. And I said, so if he can do that, schmuck like me certainly should. And then on top of that, I said, I love that. I love the fact that you were selling Capri Suns and Cheetos out of your classroom 7 years ago to make gas money to take your team on a van trip somewhere. Don't lose that. Don't lose that humility and that drive in who you are. And that's got to where you're sitting here tonight interviewing for the Alabama job. And he hasn't. And I've talked to him 3 times today. Transfer portal's open. I met with our women's basketball coach earlier today. You got to have regular communication with your coaches. But he's a person that is one heck of a basketball coach. Can I tell you that our relationship kept him here? Didn't hurt. But also we've invested heavily in our basketball programs to put us in the best possible position to go out and compete for championships. That's what we want to do here at Alabama.
You knocked it out of the park, Greg. His personality is so great. He's captivated the nation. I mentioned I'm in Hawaii. We're a big hoops community, big football, but hoops too. And Coach Oates is taking over. We got Rico Bosco on Barstool, loving him. It's just a great story. We really
Blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you had a recent tweet from support with your basketball squad, and we appreciate this. It's a day-to-day development space is gonna keep growing. You're keep gonna take steps in the right direction, I believe. Something along those lines. The tweet said. Can you share any details on the plan for a new arena, practice facility, that space? Is there any new updates on that stuff?
Yeah, so we have an arena on the drawing board. Our timing hasn't been great because every meeting I went into for about a year, the price went up by $25 million. And as much as people think we have all the money we know what to do with, I haven't found that account yet. We have continued to raise money. Our donors have been really good. It is a priority. Our basketball arena is 60 years old, basically. We have to address it. We're going to continue to plug away at that, but we got to, and I can't go into detail, but Coach Oates and I and Coach Curry, our women's coach, been talking about improvements to infrastructure on because listen, the arena is important. The coaches like a nice arena, but they're much more concerned about where they're practicing on a daily basis. That's their classroom, right? That's where they're going to teach and develop. And so we've got a couple things up our sleeve that I think are going to be really positive for our program. Coach Oates is really excited about it. Coach Curry is too. So as we go through that process, we'll be able to talk more about it publicly.
Calling all alumni, Reese Davis, tune on in, man. Yeah, Alabama is the school's NIL program that started about a year ago. I think it's pretty cool. There's a subscription, there's tiers, fans can sign up. And recently there's been a strong push for donations and collective. I think what's especially after what we saw in Fayetteville last week, things got a little bit crazy. Can you share any revenue numbers, membership numbers, anything, how that's going? I know that a lot of fans are now turning into the importance of that side of the business, the fundraising.
Yeah, it is really important. We're in a very volatile time in our industry. There's a lot of litigation. There's a House litigation it is significant in the billions of dollars. Things like O'Bannon and the Alston lawsuits and things like that. That's chump change compared to what we're talking about here, and it's going to have a dramatic impact on what we do in college sports. And so, Coach Saban and I went up to D.C. about a month ago, and Senator Cruz had us up there for a round table, and it was a bipartisan one. There was about 10 senators that came in during the time that Coach and I were there, and some other people from the college athletic space in different areas. And I was in my comments, I said, I'm worried about the Olympic model. I'm worried about Olympic sports and the viability of them long term, because what we're talking about financially from this, when you're talking $10+ billion, there's not a secret stash of money. Here at Alabama, we have two sports that one makes a healthy profit. Football, men's basketball makes a profit. Then we have 19 that lose a lot of money. All except for men's and women's tennis, each lose just under $1 million a year. Everybody else is in the multi-millions for the most part. And so Senator Cruz asked me directly. He said, "What sports are you talking about?" I said, "Swimming." Lead plaintiff is a young man named House, and he's a swimmer. I'm worried about swimming. I'm worried about tennis. I'm worried about track. I'm worried about golf. All these sports we're really proud of, and we want to compete at the highest levels, and we're committed to doing that at Alabama. But I'm very concerned that schools are going to have some really tough choices to make down the road here, and I think that gets discounted. I was criticized for saying that. It's the truth. The old saying, "The truth will set you free." We're not going to stop investing in football at Alabama. Right? We're not going to. It is the impact that it makes on our university, on our athletic department, on the young people, and how they can develop themselves and put them in the best possible position. So right outside my door here I have a balcony overlooking our practice fields, and then I walk right into our weight room. If I go in there today at some point, I will see guys, either current NFL players or potential NFL players who are done with their eligibility, who will be in there working out, because it's better than here at Alabama than what they get in the NFL. And the nutrition, the medical support, the mental health support, I'm really proud of what we do. And I think that's often discounted and taken for granted. And I think we need to talk about it very genuinely, that we invest significantly in the young people in our program on the men's and women's side. And I'm proud of that. And so NIL's part of that now. We've had to adjust to that. And our fan base, what I've said is you haven't seen a lot of shock and awe out of Alabama, so to speak. You haven't seen crazy NIL stories. We need to make sure the folks who are running NIL for us, it's an outside entity, so I don't have direct control over it. But it's something that they're doing a nice job with, and it's important to do it to stay competitive in the world we're in.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much. That was very clear. And this is something that we're going to continue to ask with athletic directors, because we want to shine light too. There's volleyball programs. I know Alabama has a great golf program. Look at the alumni. Do yourself a favor. Google that. Do yourself a favor. Buy some baseball tickets for Alabama listeners if you're out there. Check out some other sports too. The swimming program's great. So we'll keep raising awareness. But thank you. That was very clear, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not just football and basketball. I'm glad you shed light on some of those other ones. And we know your time is precious here. You got Joe Rogan and probably Maury Povich coming up here. But so we're just close this out with a few fun ones here. We end every interview the segment we call 1 star to 5 star. Everybody knows we're the 1 stars. You know it now too. We're trying to get better. We're trying to get better with these advice and tips here. So we're gonna ask a few questions that run the gamut on a 1 to 5 star scale here. You mentioned that you had never met Nate Oates before interviewing him in Buffalo. And to me, you showed tremendous leadership by swiftly hiring Kalen DeBoer a few months ago to replace Nick Saban. It was a 5-star masterclass in how to stay calm as an AD and make the right move quickly. And my interesting take on that is your professional path, I don't believe, crossed much, if at all, with Coach DeBoer in the past before that. So what have you learned about Coach DeBoer over the past 90 days?
Well, I've been watching him for a few years. Jeff Tedford, who's the head football coach at Fresno, used to be at Cal. I worked with him at Oregon in the 90s when I was a regional fundraiser there. He's one of the best football coaches I've ever been around. And knowing that Coach DeBoer, Coach Kalen DeBoer was his offensive coordinator at Fresno, I'm like, all right, if Jeff Tedford's hiring him, this dude can coach. I was hoping that Coach Saban would never retire, right? But we also had to be prepared. There's actually a box sitting next to my desk that it's been there for a few years, that had a lot of detailed information on potential coaches, that had detail on. We had a 13-page document, basically hour by hour plan from the second that Coach Saban announced his retirement and how we were going to handle everything, from communication with the team, communication with candidates, who I was going to call tied to Alabama, just to give them, when I left here I flew out of Birmingham that night, the night Coach retired, and all the way to the Birmingham airport, I called former players, I called a few donors, and I wasn't telling them, hey, here's who I'm going to talk to. I was saying, hey, do you have any thoughts you want to share with me? And that gave them the ability to say, hey, he's taken my feedback, which was important. I already knew who I was going to talk to at that point, but they may have brought something up that I hadn't thought about, because one of my favorite sayings is, the only thing I got figured out is I don't have it all figured out. So flew out of Birmingham. The very next morning, I'm in Seattle, and Regina, my wife, and I bring her in to meet the spouse. We interviewed Coach DeBoer, and his wife Nicole came down, and we met him in a hotel in downtown Seattle, and spent about 4.5 hours with him. And there was humility. You could tell they were very smart, really cared about the kids. They were very concerned about how this was going to impact the young men at Washington. They genuinely were. You could tell that. And all you got to do is research him. The dude wins. I said it at the press conference when we announced him. I said, winners win. I truly do believe that. And so to take over a 4-8 program at Washington, Jen Cohen, the AD there at the time, who's now at SC, made a heck of a hire with Coach DeBoer. And, and to take over a 4-8 program and then play in the playoffs 2 years later, that's hard to do in football. You can do that sometimes in basketball because you're not talking about as many dudes, right? But from a football standpoint, that's really difficult to do. And so you can see the culture in the program was outstanding.
What has stood out about Kalen over the past 90 days, being able to work with him day in and day out so far?
He really embraces what Alabama represents, what Coach Saban represents. In fact, 3 of us had a meeting this morning. And then he also is very comfortable with who he is as a coach. And, he's being very respectful of what our tradition is, but he's also putting his own fingerprints on it. We got music at practice now. People think that's a big deal. It goes on at most programs. Coach Saban didn't do that, and Coach Saban had every right not to do that, right? One's not right, one's not wrong. It's just there's different ways to approach it. And so he's got a steadiness to him. He's really good from actually it was pretty cool. If you know anything about football or have interest in football, I got to sit, it was just 3 of us today, and those 2 started talking football a little bit. I'm like, this is awesome. And he's really embraced what the University of Alabama is, and our fan base has embraced him. He's done a good job of getting around the Southeast from a recruiting standpoint, having them get to know him. And so those are big shoes to fill, right? Size 18s. But I really have appreciated the way he's gone about it.
One thing I know both of those guys have is competitiveness, and it's a hallmark of every winner, whether it's sports, business, being an AD even. And your mom has spoken in the past about how you'd get super competitive at board games growing up. But your dad, who was an AD for 3 decades, said you shouldn't be in the profession if you don't want to win. How would you rate your own competitiveness on a scale of 1 to 5 stars?
It's strong. It's strong. I since I was so limited athletically, I had to have it come out in other ways to, just do what I could with the skill set the good Lord gave me. And so I was around competition my whole life, right? My parents are both, my mom's 79, my dad will be in 2 months. So I grew up around competitive environment, and I loved it. And I think, and I've said this in speeches, the locker room is one of the most powerful places in our country. Everybody needs to be in a locker room, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a manager, whatever your role is, because you learn how to work with people who are different than you. They all come together from all different backgrounds, and you're a melting pot, and you learn how to be around people that have different views, different backgrounds, all those different things. You learn how to come together and work together. And you learn what hard work and discipline and structure and the things that it leads to and the benefits of it. One of the challenges right now, in my opinion, with what's going on in college athletics and the transfer portal, there is value there. I understand at times why kids transfer. Okay, I get that. I transferred from Oregon to Arizona State, right? But I also know if the easy button is there to get out, when there's resiliency and challenge, people often want to go to that easy button. And in order to have to learn the skill set of saying, you know what, it's not always going to be perfect. There will be strife, there will be challenge. And how do you respond to that? How do you fight through that? You know, that you learn that in the locker room too. And you learn that by being part of team sports. So I think my competitive nature is fairly strong. You know, it means a lot when you win, but you also need to learn how to lose too, and learn how to do it with class and dignity, and represent you, your family, and your program in the right way when those things come along too.
We talk about life lessons through sports and locker rooms all the time, and I love the perspective there from someone who goes through it every day. Last one here. You're 20 some years into your career as an athletic administrator with a lot of stops along the way. And much like in coaching, you don't see ADs stay at one place for their entire careers much anymore. There's no Kobe Bryants, there's no Dirk Nowitzki's. But that said, Tuscaloosa is a unique place because out here in California, we marvel at the passion and the commitment from the fan base, and we wish some of our schools had those same qualities. So comparing it to some of your stops along the way, the Oregons, the Arizonas, the Mississippi States, which are all great in their own rights, but what's the 5-star quality of the Tide fan base that makes Alabama so special?
We're going to have our spring game tomorrow, and we think we're going to have about 80,000 people there. And for practice, right? I always used to say, and I mean this sincerely, that I thought the Pac-10 then Pac-12, the two fan bases that were the closest to the SEC were Arizona and Oregon, where they're the only games in town that, you know, football, we struggled at times filling up Arizona Stadium. But even when you weren't filling it up, everybody was paying attention to the game. And, you know, obviously the track record of fan support at McHale and everything like that. That's just the way it is here. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the day I was named AD at Arizona 15 years ago, they had a press conference for me, and I come out of the press conference, and an older gentleman comes up to me, and I had left Mississippi State, which is only 75 miles from here. Okay. I leave Mississippi State, and I really struggled. I struggled leaving there because I'd hired Dan Mullen as the football coach, and we'd hired John Cohen as the baseball coach that got him to Omaha. But Sed Dempsey had a tremendous impact on me to come to the University of Arizona, and we really enjoyed our time there. Regina and I did, and our boys. And in fact, my oldest still works there. And so he comes up to me at the press conference. And he says, "Greg," he said, "welcome to Arizona." And I said, "Yes, sir. It's great to be here." He said, "You've never seen passion like what you're going to see at the University of Arizona." I said, "You're right. It's a great place. That's why I've been here a lot in the past. It's an honor to be part of it." He said, "No, you don't understand. You've never seen," came at me a second time, "never seen passion like this." I said, "You know, you're right." And just I appreciate what you mean. And then he came at me a third time. I'm like, "Sir, I got to interrupt you. I'm not trying to be rude." I said, "I'm coming from Starkville, Mississippi. The town is 25,000 people. The football stadium seats 55,000. I said, you go 80 miles up the road to Oxford, Mississippi, you pass a bunch of cows in between, and the town is 30,000. The football stadium seats 60,000. I said, you turn right out of Starkville, and you go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 75 miles away, and the town is 100,000, and the football stadium seats 100,000. I said, all three places could be playing on Saturday, and all three places will be full. I said, so I do get the passion. And I said, how do we grow that here at Arizona to be even stronger than what it is? The thing that separates it out here is it's multi-generational. And so tomorrow at our spring game, we'll have grandparents, parents, their kids, 3 and sometimes 4 generations all at the game together collectively as a family. It's harder to do that out west. You don't see that same 3 and 4 generation family. There's cases of that, but it's not the same numbers of percentage, right? And so I think that's helped it. I think that the pride that the Southeastern Conference schools have taken in saying, hey, we're going to be really good at college sports, and it overshadows most of the time the professional teams around here. And listen, we don't have any pro teams in Alabama, and there are plenty of Falcons fans and Atlanta Braves fans and things like that. But there's just something different when you meet somebody in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, wherever it is. You'll say, "Hey, I'm Greg," and they'll often ask you, three things. Who's your kin? So who's your family? Are you Baptist or Methodist? And are you who's your allegiance to in school?
And sometimes it's just one thing, Greg. Sometimes it's just Roll Tide question mark.
That's right. That's why when you're wearing that, you get a
that question's answered.
Yeah, you really do. I've been in the Hong Kong airport and gotten a Roll Tide, Greg, before, so that's kind of cool.
It's worldwide. It's worldwide. Well, hey, from Flying Hills Elementary to Tuscaloosa and everywhere in between, man, we've loved watching the journey. Everyone can go follow you at Greg_Byrne on Twitter. You have some fun on Twitter sometimes. We like that. Anything you want to know about Alabama athletics, of course, can be found on rolltide.com. Greg, it's so cool to see someone fulfill their life's dream and doing really, really well at it. We wish you the best of luck, man, and thank you again for coming on with the One Star Recruits.
You betcha. I appreciate y'all having me on. I know you're a Long Beach Rip, and I saw Dan Munson in Phoenix the other day. I've known Dan's dad, Don. Mr. Munson was the coach at Oregon when my dad was the AD, and so I think Dan's a heck of a coach, and I know he'll have a next step, whatever that is. But I just appreciate you asking me to be on, and good luck with everything y'all got going on. And DK, good luck with getting back to Maui at some point. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Hey, I'm going to put this into the atmosphere, too, because I would love to see your basketball team get a 7-footer. Mr. Ballo, just throwing it out there. Great place to land for you there with Roll Tide. It's a place where genuine care and comfort of all players from the Ritz-Carlton Credo, as Greg knows.
There you go. That's right.
Thank you, sir.
Story behind it. Appreciate y'all. Roll Tide.
Special thanks to Greg Byrne out down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, doing a hell of a job as always. I mean, he's bounced around a lot, DK, but he's climbing the ladder, and he's at the top right now. I love the story. I know it's been told before, but I love the story about Nate Oates selling Capri Suns and Cheetos out of his classroom. I have 2 young kids, so we have Capri Suns in my refrigerator right now. When's the last time you had a Capri Sun and or a bag of Cheetos?
Both a long time. 10 years on both. They've just been on my no-hit list. We'll talk in my one-star moments of the week about 2 more additions that I've added to the list of retiring their numbers completely. Foods that are getting retired from my life, Rip. Those 2 are retired. I can't process either of them.
I bet Nate Oates could sell you some if you were down in Alabama and he had a little snack sale going on. I guarantee you'd buy one of each from him. He seems
You'd have to have a Rice Krispie treat. You have a Rice Krispie treat, and I'm in. That's the key to my heart. I need an RCK. That's how you get me in those things, bro. Congrats to friend of the pod, Rip, Angel Reese, getting drafted number 7, headed to the Chicago Sky. Congratulations, dude. The WNBA averaged 2.4 million views on ESPN, which is a 300% increase, not from just another draft, Rip, from anything that's ever happened in the WNBA ever before, which is kind of crazy. Things are looking up, in that regard. Makes sense. Devil's advocate, it also kind of happened to fall on a night, which was a dead night in the NHL and the NBA, this tweener night, which is very rare going into the playoffs. So very smart grabbing that time slot, WNBA. I had to make the tough decision. Should I watch the WNBA draft or should I watch the very intriguing Oakland A's versus St. Louis Cardinals game? It was tough. I watched the first couple picks. I got to about 4. Then I was back over at the Coliseum, Ricky Henderson Field, watching it. You sit down in any W draft for you, Rip? You see Caitlin get drafted?
I was at a Little League game, but yeah, I saw the highlights, that outfit that Angel Reese had on, looking good. Cameron Brink from Stanford. These women are ballers and they're good looking, man. I was shocked at the amount of teams that had like 2 picks in the top 10. Like Chicago Sky got not only Angel, but they got Camila Cardoza from South Carolina. Like, how is that team not in the playoffs next year with those 2 just alone?
But look at us talking W, Rip. Some people are 32nd through right now. I'm gonna keep it going. Things gotta change in the W. Caitlin Clark and Angel, who are the faces of automatically jump to be in the faces of the WNBA, will make $78,000 their first year in the W. For perspective, I mean, just from first perspective, that's about the same as the average teacher now in California makes, which is still completely underpaid. But kind of crazy for perspective, Giannis Antetokounmpo makes $78,000, Rip, every 12 days. And Giannis is only on the team because his bro is so good. It was like adding sprinkles to your cupcake. It was you have to add him to sign the deal. That's how good Giannis is, who, by the way, is not playing in round one versus Indy. Very scary. We need to talk about that. But I guess let's pay these ladies, which means I guess what's happening is the right flow of movement. Players get better, products get better. There's this movement right now that's happened with Angel and Caitlin over the tournament that's elevated it to now. I'd like to see the numbers in the Indiana Fever season ticket sales office. Maybe our guy Rossi can help us out with that. Shooting two pod. I bet you they sold out. I wonder how the new WNBA team in the Bay Area is doing with ticket sales. At the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. So it's our W talk. 32nd through it, they were looking good. And they are ballers. And I think the product's getting much better, much quicker with the help of the NBA, just like the G League is getting better. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Blue, by the way, Rip. You see that? Championships have started in Oklahoma City. When the first year that I won a ring in Santa Cruz with the G League and Golden State won a ring in 2015, Rip, we won it first in the G League. It resonated through the hills. Back up to Oakland, Oracle Arena. It's flowing right now, bro, from Portland, Maine, where they won the championship. It's flowing back through Edmonds, Oklahoma, right through Tulsa. OKC. Who's your NBA champions, Rip? Playoffs start this week. Who wins this thing? Denver.
Yeah, I mean, you mocked me for picking UConn, but they went ahead and won it. I mean, how could I not pick Denver? They got a home court against everybody except maybe Boston. You know what? I'm gonna pick Boston. I'll change it up. I think
there's a bunch of hero ball out there. Rip does not like hero ball. Interesting to hear you say that.
They were so dominant during the season that I think stats like that can't be ignored come playoff time. And those off-season changes they made with Drew Holiday and Porzingis, I think it's going to get them a title this year. It's plus they have home court over Denver, so that's going to be huge, or whoever comes out of the West.
NBA is getting wins all over the place. We'll talk more playoffs. I'm not going to get into it too deep. It's going to be fun, though. Can't wait for that Dallas LA Clippers series. Yum, yum, yum. I'm going to eat all that up. So good. NBA setting records all over the place, too. 872 sellouts, most ever. 22 million total fans going through these buildings, most ever. Average attendance, most ever, 8,222 people ever, flowing. USA basketball just drops right on our face too, Rip, with that 2024 Paris Olympic roster. Another treat. Holy shit. You know why? It's in Paris. It's not like we're going, Paris brings out the stars. Do I have to do the names for you, Rip? I'm going to do them. I don't care. Steph Curry, LeBron James, KD, your boy, Jason Tatum, big Boston guy, Rip, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Drew Holiday, bam. This is 90. This is how it should be. You got to be pumped to go to France now, Rip. Fucking times 10 pumped.
Yeah, I'll be there in 30 days, unfortunately before the Olympics, but hopefully before all the other tourists too. Don't forget about that 3-on-3 though. Our guy, one-star alumni Jimmer Fredette. I see Caitlin Clark and Cameron Brink are going in a little mini camp at the end of the week for 3-on-3. Like that's going to be pretty lit too, man. Don't sleep on that.
Do not sleep on that 3-on-3 hoops. It's actually better than you think. Dude, I want to bookmark that because I want to talk about the state of Utah stealing everything from Arizona before we wrap up this pod. A couple L's maybe. This Rip, I know rip your heart out a little bit because this just sucks. You know how they make the incentives in the NBA? They have to play a certain number of games, minimums, to kind of get some of these incentives. Most improved player being one of them. Knicks having a great season. Dante DiVincenzo, great season. Former Warrior. Missed a single game this season, and he fell, bro. Can you believe this? 9 seconds short of the required minimum.
Wow.
9 seconds short. Who to blame?
Was he in the running? I got a vote in for my guy Grayson Allen down in Phoenix.
Oh, I like that. I think he was in the running. They're doing good stuff there. I don't think he's in the running to make that USA team. I heard Austin Rivers say on a podcast he'd like to see like Christian Laettner in 1992. Go ahead and bring Cooper Flagg on that USA team. Bring him up there, 12th guy. You like that?
Bring him out. Let's go. That's like the Christian Laettner of 2024. That'd be awesome.
It's pretty good, bro. What NBA was moving hot and heavy. One more. Oh, we need your opinion on this, my man. Blake Griffin, your guy, Lob City. You were there. You were part of it, Rip. You were part of the culture at that time in your 20s, 2009. first round pick, hell of a comedian, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. Blake Griffin, is he a Hall of Famer?
He is not, although I think people with lesser stats and careers have been put in the Hall of Fame, I'd argue those guys aren't either. But yeah, I don't think he's a really good player for 5 or 6 years. Injuries obviously cost him a little bit, but no, I wouldn't put him in the Hall, man. Just really good player, but at a time when there were a lot of really good players.
In facts, Steve Ballmer did the best thing that an owner can do, so just with the Clippers too, by the way. This is my favorite owner move ever that I think's cheap. This is probably one of your favorite things, Rips, that any owner could ever do. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but for Fan Appreciation Day, this is gangster. It's small, but I love it. Thank you for fans. The very last game at Crypto.com Arena, worst name ever. Mr. Ballmer, free concession stands. They picked up the tabs. Is that not a glorious event or what? How much would your kids love that?
That is amazing. The lines must have been crazy. The lines are already bad with having to pay for it. Imagine if everything was free. You might have probably had to wait an hour.
Nightmare. Actually, take that back. Nightmare situation. Good turned into nightmare. Classic Steve Ballmer's. Dude, good to nightmare. The state of Utah, the Salt Lake City, the Ryan Smith and his groups, they're gutting the Phoenix sports scene. Rip. First, the Coyotes. See ya. The Coyotes played their last game in Arizona. It was a good run. I think 1997 until 2024. That's a pretty good run, but it's over. They're out of here. To Utah. I have that. Winston, if you want to pull the clip, I talked about this 2-3 months ago. The writing was on the wall, but then they came, Rip, and they took our best associate head coach for the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Young, $30 million, 7 years, back to Brigham Young. That's why Jimmer's real happy. Got a real one. He thinks that they got the right coach there. What's the deal? Is Salt Lake City sucking us dry in Phoenix of all our talent, all of our stuff?
I think so. I think it's part of a wider trend. Seymour, our listener out of Liberty, Utah, Seymour, one of our best listeners, loyal fan, he started the trend about 15 years ago, and it's continued. And honestly, I'd rather live in Utah than Arizona right now, too.
Whoa, whoa. That is
the state is beautiful. I mean, the Coyotes are going to be so well supported there. The fans are unbelievable. Unlike the 10 people in Arizona we know that like hockey, like it's just not going to cut it. There's thousands and thousands of people waiting to crowd and pay for tickets in downtown Salt Lake. It's the right move.
It is the right move. It is the right move. You hear that? And I don't want to hear Gary in Phoenix anymore. I thought this Kevin Young slander about, where his superpowers were on the offense this year. Gary, maybe he was being held back by Vogel. Gary, who knows? He was very talented, and we let him run. It was good. Do we have any Coyotes memories, or should we just 30-second right through that? Because I can't really think of any. I think I went to one game in the 27 years. Unfortunately, I'm part of the problem. You got a Coyotes memory, or is this a hard pass 30-second skip moment?
I mean, I got some names. The Jeremy Roenick, Rick Tocchet, and Shane Doan teams like 15, 20 years ago were the best memory. They haven't been relevant since then. So I think it's time to move, and it's past time to move. So I'm not upset about it at all.
Doan family, the kings of Arizona hockey. Shane Doan Jr., his kids scored a goal last week. So his pops got a goal as a Coyote. He got a goal as a Coyote. That's how they live it. Enjoy Utah. 1-star moments of the week, Rip. We're 1-stars. We talk about them. Anything that happened in this world that was embarrassing that we don't really share, we're going to bring them up. 1-star moment. What do you got?
Mine is just kind of an overall thing for the last couple weeks, man. And I don't know if this is a thing with everyone or not. It kind of is, though, because I kind of hear people talking about it. But I want to see if you or any of our listeners have a solution. It's just the coffee leads to being in the bathroom all the time right after taking a shit. And I want to know if there's any answers. Every time I have the Lee's iced coffee, it's like within a couple hours, you're in the bathroom. Is there anything I can do to counteract that? I mean, is anybody having success at this, or is everyone just in the bathroom after coffee?
I think it's part of the benefit. I think that's part of the thing that's the process, that's the benefit. And funny that your 1-star moment is so tightly tied to my 1-star moment, which essentially involves going to the bathroom. Holy cow. We are 1-stars. That is where we're at in life. Rip, I don't have an answer. Listeners, hit up this man. Help this man out. I think that you're creating a problem where there's no problem.
Well, that's the thing. I think it is a problem because it's not a normal bathroom trip. I'm not trying to get too detailed here, but like our guy,
Yes.
we gotten some good listener suggestions in the past. Our guy Jake Young put me on the Evol burritos from Costco for breakfast. I've been eating those. So now I'm looking for some tips here from
Some more.
listeners.
No, we've
I
done it
want to
all.
know.
We've done psyllium husk. We've done
Basically,
it.
how do you psyllium husk? I'm not on anymore, but how do you keep regular while having coffee? Maybe going back
Yeah.
on the psyllium husk is the answer. Maybe I got to try that.
Add it to mine. I'm about to name two items from my one-star moment that I've had to retire in my life. Maybe I could bring them back.
Cheetos and Capri Suns?
They're on there. Add them up there. I got two more. One-star moment of the week for me. Add them to the list. Two more, bro. I'm too old to eat anymore. List, I guess we'll call it at this point in time. This one I thought I had a good relationship with. I thought we were simpatico, and we're gonna work it out, man. And I think I was feeling cheesy last week all around is kind of the theme here because I have two. So I'm going to mention two. Swiss cheese, even on the upper shelf of the Swiss cheese when I get the boar's head. Swiss cheese. I got a rotisserie chicken, some King's Hawaiian rolls, some spinach, made some sliders. Delicious. My stomach this morning, I might as well have swallowed river rocks. Okay? And then they become clay river rocks inside of my body somehow. Just the same, Rip. I think the same experience that you're going through.
You could have it could have been the Hawaiian rules.
Well, that's a whole nother thing now. We're opening up. Look at this. Determining. Maybe I'll put them up there too. Dang it. This list is getting fucking huge of my retired stuff. Second cheese product. Same day that I tried. I'm risking it all with these cheese products. This is one of your favorites, so I'm sad to do this. Unfortunately, the time has come. Cheez-Its. Put them in the rungs. They give me an acid reflux at this stage in the game and a heartburn that is a level 500, 69 out of 69. This is a 1 a.m. wake me up, and the juice is not worth the squeeze anymore if I burp up and I can taste thick, hot, warm cheese. It's in my body trying to figure out where to go. Okay. The 8 p.m. handful, not worth it anymore. It's over. They're retired. I'm putting them up there. Lift them up. Cheez-Its.
That's blasphemy. I think you need to eat the whole box, a handful. Come on. That's for 1 stars, man. You got to eat a whole box.
They're done. Catch me with some goldfish, maybe once in a while. Cheez-Its are done. They're retired from my list. So Swiss cheese and Cheez-Its. See ya. Positivity, negativity to positivity. My 1 star recommendation of the week. Listeners know I did a couple week vacation in Oahu. It was so nice, so lovely, very different being out in the city from being in the farm in the hills of Kauai where I live now. But we had the best time. Rec of the week to all the folks listening out there in the South, coming out to Hawaii, getting their summer vacation planned. Go to Waikiki, stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Waikiki. They took such good care of us. The food is wonderful. The room service in particular. We got the dogs, so there's not much eating out, I guess, with the dogs and they're barking their heads off. But the room service, the views, the attention to detail with the animals and with the small little touches. Ritz-Carlton, Waikiki, come to Hawaii. Stay at that hotel. You're going to love it. Wreck of the week. What do you got?
What an elitist wreck of the week. Ritz-Carlton and Waikiki. Of course, everyone would like to go there. Greg Byrne is a huge Hawaii fan. You got to hook him up with some rooms too, man. Come
He's a
on.
big Ritz-Carlton guy. I think he worked there in Phoenix. In fact, at that property, it's worth it. It's worth the money. The difference right now in the Ritz-Carlton versus say the normal, let's just say the normal hotel is about $150 a night. That you see the difference the second you step on the property. It's worth it in the little things that you now expect, Rip. This isn't Laughlin. I'm not going into a room with dead beetles and trying to decide if that's Capri Sun cherry, limeade, or blood on my bed. Okay, bro?
No bed bugs at the Ritz in Waikiki. All right, mine DK. It's a little more toned down. You only have to have $10 a month to watch this. It's Neil Brennan, his comedian. He has a new special on Netflix called Crazy Good. It was recommended to me by the algorithm. I got an email about it and I watched it. It's pretty funny, man. He's got good takes on crypto, social media flexes, sex compliments, all kinds of stuff, man. I never even heard of this guy, but he has multiple Netflix specials. This newest one's called Crazy Good. He's talking about some really recent stuff. So it's Neil Brennan on Netflix. Check it out. You ever heard of him?
Love Neil Brennan, man. He's actually a very good basketball player. He would be wonderful for the podcast. He plays some high school basketball and he plays some pickup games in New York and LA with some groups that familiar with, Rip. The One Stars have been a part of these games, possibly at one point in time. Rips reacts. Hit the music. Savannah Banana Crocs dropped. Exclusive on Zappos for $70. Winston, pull those up so Rip can see them. Savannah Banana Crocs. Rip, you copping these?
Ooh, those look nice. I'm in on those. I just saw some Jackie Robinson Nikes that sold out yesterday in like 5 minutes. These look like they're still available. I'm in on them.
Those could be Crocs. Good Little League coach game day Crocs. You know, stay on vibe. Stay on, you know, have a little fun with it too. Connor McDavid is the 4th player in NHL history to get to 100 assists in a season. Rip, what was your best life assist?
I think my best life assist was giving advice to my friend Dan Tumpak on his future wife. There was a whole story about whether he should date her or not, and I said, yeah, go for it, and he did, and the rest is history, man. They got 2 kids, been married for 20 years. One of my good friends, and yeah, that's what sticks out to me on the top of my head.
5-star. I know Dan Tumpak. We're throwing governments out there. I love it, Rip. Great answer, bro. Baseball, quick hitter. D-backs pitcher Jordan Montgomery expected to make his season debut Friday versus the Giants. How excited are you about the D-backs still, Rip?
I'm still pumped, man, but we need that boost. It's coming at exactly the right time. I think they're right around 500, and he's a winner, man. Probably the biggest off-season acquisition for them, and it came late. It came like a week before the season started. So, yeah, he's going to be a huge boost to the rotation.
Seafood restaurant chain Red Lobster is considering a Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. What's your order at Red Lobster, and what's your best memory at Red Lobster?
It was my favorite restaurant growing up, but to be honest, I haven't had it in at least 10 years. Cheddar Bay biscuits. I mean, you can buy them at the grocery store now and cook them, bake them at your house. Those are for sure the number one. The number two memory is just going in there as a kid and looking at the live lobsters in the tank with all tied up and clothespinned and everything, and either feeling bad for them, but knowing that people are eating them like 5 feet away. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but man, Red Lobster, I loved it as a kid, but honestly, I wouldn't miss it too much now.
Cheddar Bay biscuits elite. I always loved the shrimp scampi. Although that's what they might hit a retirement list for me with that type of butter this day and age. I might have to retire the scampi, put it up there, add it to the damn rafters. Memory for me, I won't say it's government. Rip's out here throwing out governments, but a good friend of mine once worked there and dated a hostess there. And let's just say, don't sit at booth 32. Oh, near the Tan Fran Mall. Okay, Rip?
I'm out on that one. I'm not. It's number 5 million on the places I'm going to be in the next year.
Quick follow-up. Jersey Mike's may sell for $8 billion to BlackRock. What's your Jersey Mike's order? You a Mike's Way guy?
I'll be honest. I think I've had Jersey Mike's one time in my life. I know it's a top 5 sandwich spot for you. I think I've had it one time in my life. I couldn't even name anything on the menu.
Sweet Lord, man. Well, we'll see you next week, Rip. Can I expect one Paris Olympic merch item you bring me back? Is that too much to expect? Maybe a hat?
I saw some really nice hats online yesterday, so I might buy it online and say I got it there for you. That's the 1-star move right there, DK. Hey, special shout out to some of my favorite spots in Tuscaloosa, really favorite media publications. Alabama Roundball, one of the best Alabama hoops publications out there. You can find them at Bama Roundball on Twitter. We got The Game on 100.9 in Tuscaloosa, hosted by our guy Ryan Fowler. Listen to that. It's Crimson Tide coverage every single day, as well as Roll Tide Wire. Our guy AJ Spur down there putting in work, talking about all the good stuff. Yale, Alabama, the spring game. Everyone down in Tuscaloosa, man, so passionate about that school, those sports, something that we marvel out west. So Roll Tide.
We don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. See you next week.
See you next week.